Here we have a Mercedes-Benz key fob that came in for repair. Customer mailed over 2 fobs, a donor and the actual fob that needs to be fixed. And the fob is the one with the triangular panic button, a very well-known issue with those fobs. Customer also included a tracker along with the fob, so anytime we move his package, it's gonna beep, it's gonna make a sound. Okay, so the customer can track and see how or when we started working on his fob. If you recall, I worked on those fobs many times before. The problem with the fob is a damaged firmware chip with solder balls under it. It's a BGA chip. If you check the video I did a while back, it's called Insane Mercedes Key Fob Repair. Hold on to your seats, reballing chip with ripped pads. The chip itself, the firmware chip itself, will have ripped pads. So we have to restore the pads on the chip itself because we cannot reprogram another chip. We cannot buy another chip. And we need to reball the chip and solder it to a good working fob. Now the good thing is the customer did mail over a good working fob. I do have a lot of donor fobs in the shop here, but that just makes our life easier. Exactly the same donor fob. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna transfer the chip, fix the chip, reball it, and transfer it to the known good fob. I did try to reflow the chip before I removed it from the motherboard, and that did not solve the problem. So I removed the chip, and let me show you what's going on. We have 3 missing pads on the chip. How can we fix this? This is level 10 soldering. What we need to do is we can tell where each pad goes. I removed the chip, I cleaned the pads, and we see that we have, it's always this area where pin number 1 is. On the last video I worked on a similar fob, we had 4 or 5 broken pads. Here we have 3. Always the same area. We can tell this pad goes here, this pad goes here, and this pad goes here. We're gonna have to scratch the traces, and we're gonna have to restore those pads. Now, of course, we can use the grinding pen, but we have to be careful. We only have 1 chance, and no room for mistakes. We do not have room for mistakes. We make a mistake, it's game over. The customer has to go to a Benz dealership and get another fob. I mean, look at the size of the syringe, of the needle tip, compared with the solder balls on the chip. I wish I had a penny. Oh yeah, I do, right here. I have a penny right in front of me. Let me just compare the size of the penny with the chip. Okay, so that's the penny and that's the chip. And when you are talking about 1 solder pad or 1 pad on the chip, you are talking maybe half the size of the letter, of 1 letter on that chip. 1 pad is the size of the eye. People do not realize this, but we are working under a microscope. Everything looks nice and big. Right now, I have the anti-glare light on, the NorthridgeFix anti-glare light. If we switch back to the ring light, then we're gonna see something like this. Impossible to see because of the reflections and the glare. We go back to the anti-glare light, the NorthridgeFix anti-glare light. If you do not already have one, you are a hobbyist or in the same type of business, just log into northridgefix.com, click on shop, add to cart, along with all the tools that we use on the bench here, including our NorthridgeFix Flux, soldering station, braid wick, low melt solder, whatever you need. One-stop shop. Order, checkout, pay, and we almost always ship out same day. Right now, I want to tin those pads. What pads? The traces. I'm using the NF Mini, super fine tip. And even solder cannot stick to that soldering iron tip because of how tiny that tip is. It's only used for special purposes. Okay. What's next? We have the pad strips. We're gonna have to choose one that matches the size. And those pad strips you can also find on our site. We have 4 different types. I forgot which one we used last time. Is this too big? Yes, it's too big. So we need something smaller. So let's go with this one here from the back. Let's go with possibly this one here. And since this pad strip is sticky, it accumulates a lot of dust. Is this one good? This one is perfect. Okay, so pad number 1 is done. Let's do pad number 2. You know what, why not get both of them, assuming those are the right pad sizes. The tweezer fell on the floor and it's crooked now. What can you do? Part of the struggle. No pain, no gain, right? People want to be successful by doing nothing. No work. You want to build muscles and you do not want to work out, or you do not want to put the work. You run 2 minutes on the treadmill and you give up. You lift 3-4 reps and you're done. You need to push yourself if you want to make it. Whoever said life is easy? It's not easy on anyone. We have a saying that goes, once you are born, you're stuck. You're stuck how? You're stuck in this world with the ups and downs of what the world has to offer. You can either run away from your problems or you can face them. I have like 10 tweezers on the bench and I'm only using the one that's crooked. You know why? Because I do not have time to switch right now and look for the right one. What can you do? If you look at the pads, Not a single one matches the size of the other. This one is different than this one is different than this, but we are dealing with very microscopic pads. A difference in size does not really matter. It looks different under the microscope because we are zoomed in a lot. And then if I show you the chip on camera, that's how the chip looks like. Now, one thing you have to understand is the chip does not have any pads in the center. We do not have exactly the same stencil for that chip. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna rebuild the chip, and it's gonna keep solder balls in the center. We're gonna remove them later. We just do not want them to stick to other solder balls. That matters. And we do that by lowering the airspeed. Beautiful. Now all we need to do is solder the chip, and then we can mail the fob back to the customer along with his tracker. Now we have the donor fob right here. We're gonna have to remove the firmware chip all the way on top here, and we're gonna replace it with the one that we have. We cannot apply hot air from the top because we're gonna end up melting the buttons, so we have to apply hot air from the bottom, and we do not have any components on the bottom. Win-win. That's the firmware chip, and pin number 1 is on my top right as I have the board oriented. It's facing the inductor. That's the inductor, so it's at the corner of the inductor. Right now, to remove it, we're not going to apply hot air from the top because this rubber will melt, the plastic inside the button will melt. Same goes for here, and the inductor is going to get affected. So let's heat up from the bottom. Safely remove the chip. All right, and we are done. We pushed on the chip, it pulled back. It means all the solder balls are making a good connection, and surface tension is what pushes the chip back when you tap on it. That's how you know all the solder balls or the chip is soldered on properly. Let's wait until the board cools down a bit. All right, so we are done. And the chip that we soldered is right over here. Okay, so I have the motherboard in the housing, part of the housing with the battery. And we're gonna press on the button. Are we gonna see a red light? Yes. Can you see it? Wow. Okay, we're gonna use a fob tester, and let's see if the fob tester will pick up the signal. Radio frequency. 1, 2, and yes. When I press the button, the signal is being picked up. Unlock, trunk, and panic. We did it. We did it. We're gonna end the video right here. Let me know what you think. Leave it down in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll do something else in the next video.
When the signal starts to fade away and the logic's gone